Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Good morning, Bellows Falls, and welcome to the feed. It's Mike Smith and Marty Gallagher. We're here today on May 27th, and it's hot outside. It's getting hotter, and we're going to have a hot topic today. We have elections. We're going to have Jeff Dunbar come on and talk with us a little bit about his candidacy and what he wants to do for the town and with Village. But first, we're going to go with Marty and some updates. Marty.
Hey, community. So thanks, Jeff, for coming to talk with us today. So as you all well know, the village meeting has been postponed a couple of times, but they have a final date. The village meeting is going to be held on Monday, June 15th at the town hall. And then the elections will be the following day, as traditionally on the Tuesday. So it'll be on Tuesday, June 16th. So because of the pandemic and social distancing and all of the, things we're dealing with right now, the village has made it very easy for anyone to get an absentee ballot. So if you want to get an absentee ballot, you can call the town hall and request one. You can send a letter in writing to request one. You can email to request one. So there's really no excuse for not voting because it's very easy to get an absentee ballot right now. The actual voting day, you can go and vote. And important to note that there's going to be a change in location. It's not going to be the Masonic Temple. It's going to be the fire station. Things will be set up social distancing wise so that people can feel comfortable voting. And then they're also going to have a drive up station on Tuttle Street where people, if they're not comfortable getting out of their cars, they can drive up and vote. With that particular station, though, please just be aware it's not going to be moving particularly quickly. So you're going to have to bring your patients, like you have to bring your patients to the recycle center. And I really would encourage everyone to vote this year. There's a lot of positions open. We have a moderator position open, village president position. There's 2 trustee positions, the village clerk, treasurer, and auditor positions. There's a lot of things that the government has to do, and I think it's really important that you get out and vote. And one of the candidates is here today, Jeff Dunbar. He's vying for one of the 2-year term trustee seats. So we're gonna jump to Jeff, and he's gonna tell us all about his candidacy. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeff. Tell us, for those of us, or for those who don't know you, who you are, where you came from, and why you were running.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm from Bellows Falls. I grew up here. My parents moved to the area in 1974 when I was a year old with my twin brother and older brother. So I've been here most of my life. My father purchased a business. He and my mom were young and starting out, and they built that business here in town. And I grew up working in the business every school vacation, etc. We were expected to work. So my friendships, the firsts in our life, most of those things happened here. Educated friendships and so forth happened here. So it's an area that I did leave for college and moved to various places, mostly East Coast, upstate New York, Delaware, Washington, D.C., owned a property in West Virginia, spent some time in Princeton, New Jersey, and then the suburban Boston. So that period of time was about 15 years. One thing remained, and that was that I loved coming home. Bellows Falls is part of me, and it's a place that's comfortable and that I really I love. And so 2006, I moved back full-time and have lived, I rented an apartment for a couple of years, and then before purchasing a home in Saxton's River. And now I chose to move into the village. I grew up in the village, and now I am back, and I I intend to be here for the long haul. So it's just a place that I really love. I think that it has a lot of attractive components to it. Certainly our natural resources being along the river and in the valley are wonderful. Our inventory of architecture is unmatched, I think. And we also have a lot of really wonderful people, intelligent, creative folks that are really committed to calling this area home. And I think that that's perhaps our greatest asset and what we need to be looking for moving forward.
Yeah, I was reading your letter of intent, or your letter throwing your hat in the ring, was in the Brattleboro Reformer here yesterday. Yes. And I saw that you were working toward inclusion and building teamwork in the town. Is that going to be like one of the planks of your platform?
Yeah, I think that, when we look at communities that thrive, there's a commonality among those communities, and it's engagement. It's people who are, really, it's more than involvement. I think, involvement lends itself to sort of a casual aspect, but it's a commitment where there's a real dedication to an outcome and moving things forward. And so that's what I would like to see is more people getting involved at some level. It doesn't have to be a big step forward or something that's really uncomfortable for them. But I think that we need to, as a community, really be looking to each other and tapping into the talents and strengths and energy among us all. And that's and the survival of any entity, I think, requires that, and we're the only ones that can provide it. So it's not going to come from the outside, it's going to come from within.
I think that's especially important right now with this time of the COVID-19, that everyone is struggling. Every community is struggling. Every form of government is struggling. And like you said, the cavalry isn't going to come over the hill and help us. We're going to have to do it ourselves because everyone else is engaged in trying to do exactly the same thing.
Sure, and all we know is our position right now. And, what we don't know is what's off in the future. So we need to, more than ever, rely upon each other and be involved in our community. Marty, you have a question?
I do. Just kind of on that topic, we had the town visits from the rural development. We went through that whole process, and we had the committees set up. And I think each committee had one or two meetings: the revitalization committee, the old buildings committee, and the build a youth center committee. And everyone was like ready to go. There was energy, there was engagement, and then COVID hit, and I think the energy kind of switched to resiliency, and they've been working with Rockingham Help and Helpers. Yeah. I'm not sure where the Build a Youth Center's at, and I'm not sure. I think the building committee's kind of in like a bit of a holding pattern right now. But would part of your goals be to kind of get that ball rolling again?
I don't know that. I was involved in that process and Let's Take Action. And so I witnessed the slowdown of momentum that I think the pandemic caused for all of us and so many organizations. I certainly will. I don't know that I'm the individual person that will get them, and because each committee has its chair people. But I certainly would like to. I don't want to see those, fall apart. I think that committees. We've all been involved in committees, and we see sort of the life and the energy at the start, and then they die. And we've invested a huge amount of time already to date, and there's still a lot to be invested in the future. What I would encourage is that those committees aren't closed. And so Just because it started doesn't mean that you can't jump in. So find that thing that that you connect with, whether it's the buildings or the resiliency, the energy efficiency, those things, or a place for youth. And what I admire about the youth center is that's something that the youth really want to build and run themselves. And that's what we need. We need that level of community engagement, and so yes, I will support it wholeheartedly.
Okay, because I think my concern was that there's some things have changed in the town hall, and Wendy, the previous town manager, was very on board with all of this, and I think for some of the things to happen, there has to be a buy-in from the town government, from the trustees, the select board. So I think it's like, as a voter, that would be one thing that would be important to me, is to know that those two entities can work together. Because it seemed like there was maybe not a lot of engagement from previous, from sometimes it just seemed like that there was a kind of a prevalent thought that they were working at odds, but they're really not working at odds. They're working together. They're not, not one is not trying to do the other person's work. It all has to happen. We have to be a community.
Right, and as I said, I've been involved in those committees and those steps, and I will continue to be involved. What I did appreciate, about Wendy is I felt she was extremely accessible, a very smart woman, and was involved. I found her more accessible. I saw her everywhere, and she was at those meetings. And if I am elected as a trustee and involved in the hiring of the new manager, I would certainly be looking for that type of spirit and someone that is engaged in the community. And I would hope that fellow board members, whether it's the trustees or the select board, similarly, that they would be involved at some level in those or other groups that are trying to move things forward.
So what do you see as the biggest challenge facing this new board that's going to be coming on, or this new group of selectmen? Because village trustees, we're at a point where there is it seems like there's been, the COVID is one thing, which has really disrupted the economy, the tax base, and the businesses in town, but also there seems to be a disruption in government right now.
Yeah, I think that, our immediate needs are that we need to hire a manager. We have someone who has stepped in as interim manager, but we need to find a manager experienced, competent in running a government. And, it needs to be somebody that we can all get behind, that the boards can get behind, develop a good working relationship, one of trust that's mutual. And that will take a little time to build that. But when we hire that person, I think we need to also step away and let them lead. So we definitely need a municipal manager in the short term. We'll also need a chief of police. That's something that I hope will happen in the near future, and the process has started. It needs to be someone who I believe outside of the ranks. There's some advantages to that as far as relationships and bias, and come in with fresh eyes to a community and say, okay, I recognize what the needs are, and somebody who's very analytical and say, these are the needs of the village. This is what I feel is the right size, properly sized the department for the village, the fleet, etc. Also that's right sized for our budget.
Yes.
And then, I think engagement, which we've talked about, is something certainly that we're definitely going to need, and we need a group of folks who have a mind towards fiscal responsibility. Looking at where our money is, what our obligations are currently, what our obligations will be, where the money presently comes from, and how do we continue to provide for those present needs balanced with what our future needs would be, which if we're looking to grow, our needs are going to be beyond what our current commitments are.
That's good. And I guess the way to look at that is creating conversations, because there's so many problems right now. People don't want to have taxes raised, but they want to have good services, and they need those services in order to attract people to the community. And but it appears right now that I'm not being don't want to be a doom and gloom guy, but with the lack of revenue over the last several months, and that's probably the schools are going to be short, and they're going to need to have money, and all of those things get rolled into the tax, the property tax, and it always seems to me that since the village has the last meeting, they get the short end of the stick. It's like everybody's like the first meeting goes on. Yeah, we got that money. We can do that. And by the time it gets down to the village, it's like, you want an extra penny? Whoa! So
taxes are a hot topic for sure. Nobody likes to see their taxes go up, and they like to see that what they are paying for is responsibly utilized. The reality is it takes money to do things, and we have commitments that won't go away, and then we have choices. And if we're looking to have some of those choices or address the areas that have been either underfunded or not funded, that will help our position as a town in our appearance, and I say that broadly, how we are perceived and being able to attract industry or talented people who can work at our more technological businesses in town, or startups that we will need to have, then we may need to address taxes. If we can't do it through property taxes, and it would be wonderful if we don't have to do it through property taxes because we have business come in or things like that. I think the reality is it's going to be balance, it's going to be time, and we are going to be in a tough economic time in the near future. We are currently, but we will continue to be coming out of COVID. So I think that we really need to be mindful of taking care of current responsibilities, but recognize that we have to provide for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, and otherwise we're always in the same position or worse.
That's true. Hey, I was thinking today that since people will be working at home more, and we actually have a pretty good internet structure here in the village and in the parts of the surrounding area. Do you think people will be moving up here to live in Vermont while working in Rhode Island or Connecticut? Or
absolutely. I mean, I've high school friends have returned to the areas to stay with their come from New York, Boston, wherever, to be with their families during this time, and they're working during the day, from one room of the house, and still being able to provide for themselves and so forth. And I think that some of them may say, wow, I'm able to do that from here, and it's so much, less stressful and so forth. People have, if you were out and about this weekend, the number of cars from outside of the area, I think that, people navigate to the area with fewer cases, and that's a little frightening. But I think it's an opportunity. We need to be open to people buying, wanting to move to the area. I think that it's a balance again. We need to preserve, our lifestyles and our identity and so forth. But I don't think it's going to be a dramatic shift. I think that we do need to invite people to come. And the real estate market has reported that sales are up and, very active.
Well, everybody's always talking about increasing the grand list and the value of the grand list. And
Right.
that's really the key to doing it. It's not having rental properties. It's having people buy houses and people
Absolutely.
with income buy houses. So,
Right. Yeah, and be able to pay them.
so we need to work on being attractive.
Yes. Yes.
So how's your personal life going? I hear your daughter's going off to London or someplace, right?
Yeah. So I have a daughter who will be 18 shortly, and she's like other graduates this year, went through sort of the struggle of finishing out the spring semester, and she will be headed off to London in September, provided campus is open. She's fairly confident that they will.
That's really exciting. I mean, that's those silver linings in the clouds. Sometimes,
Yeah.
you have to look at them.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we're looking at you're running here in June, and we need to be thinking about moving forward with the village. Do you have any sort of advice or sage wisdom?
I really think that engagement is the way that we emerge from where we're currently at some level, and it doesn't need to be again with the by being involved with the boards. I think that it's leadership of some sort, getting involved with what's going on, and contributing to solutions. Going to the town meetings, voting, absolutely. I'm hoping, as Marty had indicated, that the options for voting this year will help and get more votes in for the type of leadership that we're looking for. There's 1,350. Oh, there's more than that. I think there's over 1,500 registered village voters, 20% of which historically vote. Those numbers need to be higher. To accept that 20% of the population is going to make decisions for 100% is not ideal.
I agree, and I totally think the same thing, that we need to get more people involved in everything, in serving and doing things and being on committees. And I wish you the best of luck in this election. I'm glad you came on. We seem to have lost Marty. She texted me that her internet has died, and but we're also out of time. So I'm going to say, Jeff, thank you for coming on. And
thank you very much.
Good luck. And if you want to come on, I hope, like we talked about before, when and when you get elected, you'll come on regularly, because I think one of the things that's key is transparency and engagement of the select boards and the village trustees with the community.
I would be happy to do that. I don't have all the answers, but I'm open-minded, and any of the registered voters out there, any constituents in the community that have questions, they're welcome to reach out to me at any point. I'd be happy to discuss their views and needs, and I thank people for the support that I've received, and look forward to serving after the elections on the 16th.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, and that's it for the feed, folks. We'll see you next week when we have Deb Fox on. I want to do a shout out to the other people who are running for positions for the village trustees. You can come on the feed. or you can come on Fact TV. We will set up a time when you can come on and give us your opinions and tell us why you should be elected. Just give us a call at the station at 463-1613 or do alex@fact8.com, and we'll find a time to get you on before elections. So give us the word and we'll do it for you.